Welcome to our channel where we talk about the big brands and the great personalities that stand behind them. Today we will talk about one of the most expensive and luxury cars in the world, namely the Lamborghini. And obviously, when talking about one of the most expensive cars in the history of mankind, we cannot help but also talk about the biography of its creator. Ultimately, our channel is about the big brands and the great personalities that brought them to the world. Ferruccio Lamborghini, an Italian industrialist and businessman, is the father of the Lamborghini brand. As is the case with many other heroes of our videos, Ferruccio is a self-made man who climbed out of poverty and had to fight his way up. Ferruccio was born in 1916 in a family of ordinary farmers. From his childhood, Ferruccio's father taught the boy to work on the farm and also instilled a love for various mechanisms. As it goes on a farm, if something breaks down, be it an elementary grain grinder or a hand tool, Ferruccio was next to his father, helping him with repairs. This way, by the age of 12, his parents noticed that the boy was very interested in small metal parts, which the boy used to make something useful. Then, his father created a small workshop for Ferruccio and equipped it with all the necessary tools for construction. This is how the boy slowly began to cast various parts for working equipment. Once, on a very ordinary day, Ferruccio, as always, worked in the workshop, casting one of the parts. Suddenly, a spark fell on the wooden floor, and in a couple of seconds, it started to burn. Luckily, at that moment, his father was nearby. He quickly figured out what to do, thereby saving his farm from a big fire. Despite such an incident, Ferruccio did not abandon his hobby and only continued to study it more thoroughly. After graduating from school, Ferruccio entered a technical university, where he obtained knowledge in the field of casting and welding and received a professional license. Without wasting a day, he immediately got a job at a local forge, and in 1932, he became one of the apprentices at a blacksmith. This allowed him to gain precious experience and practice over the next 2 years. In 1934, he changed jobs and got a job in one of the workshops in the city of Bologna, where he worked directly with the military. It is worth noting that Ferruccio was completely obsessed with his occupation. Because of his love for this occupation, he would later build the business of his life. Having made acquaintances and having studied blacksmithing, a year later, Ferruccio returned to his hometown of Cento, where the young master opened his workshop together with his friend Marino Filippini. At that moment, they both were only 19 years old. Unfortunately, the business that they started ran for a very short time because the year 1939 came. Both young men were drafted into the army, where Ferruccio served as a mechanic at the Italian garrison on the island of Rhodes. He independently repaired military machines, both domestic and imported. This circumstance helped the young guy a lot because he gained experience that he definitely would never have received at the university at that time. When the Germans turned on their former Italian allies in September 1943, most soldiers either fled or were among the 30,000 Italians captured as prisoners of war. Lamborghini initially escaped capture but later returned to his former workplace in civilian clothes, working several odd jobs, and with the permission of the German forces, opened a small vehicle workshop. When the island fell to the British at the war's end in 1945, he was arrested as a collaborator and could not return home to Italy until the following year. Returning to his hometown, he had enough work. Not a day passed without the orders coming one after another. By the end of 1947, there was not a single farm owner who would have not worked with Lamborghini for their equipment repair. Realizing that his knowledge and work were popular, Lamborghini collected all his savings, borrowed part of his parents' money, and, in 1948, established the Lamborghini Trattori SPA company. The key goal of Lamborghini at that time was to help the local farmers by giving them a vehicle that would do some of the hard work for them. With the accumulated knowledge of repairing military vehicles and hard work, in just a year of work, Ferruccio invented the company's first vehicle. So, in 1949, the Lamborghini Trattori produced the first tractor of its own production. The company had to use discarded war materials to produce its first tractors. For example, the engine was taken from a military truck. But these machines featured a significant innovative technical solution, a fuel atomizer which, when used in conjunction with a Morris engine, allowed the tractor to be started with petrol and then switched to diesel. In general, almost all elements were borrowed or remade in their own way. The first few tractors were offered to local farmers, and they were so pleased with the work of the mechanical engineer that after a few months, they made about a dozen more orders. A year later, the number of orders for Lamborghini tractors was so large that the company no longer had time to fulfill them. Within a few years, company production had gone from one tractor a week to about 200 a year, and new Italian-made engines were replacing the old war surplus. Of course, it was necessary to develop the company and grow. Lamborghini lacked both the workers and the space for the production. But the most important lacking part was the details for the production. At that moment, Ferruccio was already 35 years old, and he thoroughly made his choice. He could have stayed at the small local shop or kept growing. However, he knew that he wanted to be connected with the production of equipment for the rest of his life, and therefore, he took a risky step and took a loan from a local bank. To obtain the loan, he had to use the whole family farm and tractor production workshop as collateral. Yes, it was a risky deal, but Ferruccio was sure of himself. With the money, he bought 1,000 new Morris engines intended for future tractors. And already in the very first year, Lamborghini sold about 50 of its tractors. In the following year, this number grew to 250. Lamborghini tractors were in demand due to their great value, as well as ease of operation and servicing. Pretty much anyone with some skills could fix this tractor. The company developed very rapidly. In the post-Second World War years in Italy, farming was almost the only way to survive with huge demand for agricultural equipment. The number of employees at the Lamborghini factory was growing every year. Up until 1967, the company was successfully engaged in the tractor business until Ferruccio decided to expand the scope of his business. That year, he opened another profitable venture, Lamborghini Briciatori, that focused on developing boilers, as well as heating and cooling systems. The company also engaged in their maintenance. With that, Lamborghini benefited from the trend of Italy gradually switching from coal heating of its houses to gas. The revenue from the two enterprises was strong and Ferruccio was enjoying the status of a successful entrepreneur.
Lamborghini. You may be able to drive a tractor, but you will never be able to handle a Ferrari properly. This was the point when I finally decided to make a perfect car.
At this moment, I am sure everyone who watches this video questions how Ferruccio came to car production. Everything is quite simple here. While Ferruccio successfully built a name in the tractor business, he was also a keen automotive enthusiast. In his spare time, he often improved his cars, supplementing them with his own developments. His first car was a Fiat 500 Topolino, but the heart of the businessman was given to sports cars. His first sports car love was the Alfa Romeo 1900 Sprint. In 1955, he decided to buy a Mercedes-Benz 300 SL, but the car quickly disappointed him, and he sold it. As for the reason for such a frequent change of machine, as the founder himself said, there were a large number of shortcomings that surfaced only when driving the car. And this did not depend on whether it was a Ferrari or a Maserati. According to Ferruccio, each car was not perfect. At different times, he had several Maserati 3500 GT cars and a Jaguar E-Type, but most of all, he preferred a Ferrari 250 GT. And it was the ownership of Ferrari that inspired Ferruccio to develop his first car. Or rather, it was what happened one day. The story behind the first Lamborghini car is that one day, Ferruccio came to the factory of Enzo Ferrari to complain about the quality of the clutch in his Ferrari 250 GT. Ferruccio wanted to talk to Enzo about the issue and to suggest helping him fix this problem. But to his surprise, the quick-tempered Enzo sent Ferruccio back to where he came from with a recommendation to continue working on his tractors. Based on Ferruccio's words, Enzo called him a provincial farmer because in cars, and especially the more sporty ones, Ferruccio understood nothing.
Ferrari never spoke to me again. He was a great man, I admit, but it was so very easy to upset him.
Quite angry and disgraced, Lamborghini returned to the factory, after which, with his own hands, together with the chief master of the factory, he disassembled the transmission in his Ferrari 250 GT and found that the manufacturer of many parts was the same as the Lamborghini tractors. He simply found a suitable replacement in his warehouses, and after assembly, the problem was solved. At the same time, Ferruccio promised himself that he would teach Enzo Ferrari a lesson, and Ferrari did not even suspect how far Ferruccio would go in this matter. Because Ferruccio was burning with the idea of creating his own high-speed sporty car. Ferruccio quickly realized what he needed to build his car. When Ferruccio Lamborghini set out to compete with Ferrari, he contracted Giotto Bizzarini to design the engine for his car and, according to some accounts, paid him a bonus for every horsepower over what Ferrari's V12 could produce. The clutches were identical to the tractors, and the body was built by Franco Scaglione, the person behind the design of many of the Alfa Romeo, Aston Martin, and Fiat cars of that time. Already in 1963, Ferruccio opened another company, now dedicated to producing cars, called Automobili Lamborghini. At the same time, Lamborghini cars received its logo with the bull on it. We will talk about this logo in more detail later. For the first time, the cars of his company appeared at the official opening of the Turin Auto Show in 1963, where the first of its kind Lamborghini 350 GTV created a sensation among the public. The car was only partially ready for its first appearance, but having received several dozen orders in May 1964, its design was finalized and launched into mass production. At the next auto show in Turin, Lamborghini presented its next model, P400. However, Ferruccio was not particularly pleased with it, and in 1966, released a new, improved version with the name Miura P400. This model was a great success. In just a couple of years, 764 copies of this car were sold. And this happened taking into account the price of the cars. The car prices started at $20,000, which amounts to over $180,000 today. Thanks to this, the car unconditionally fell into the luxury category. But even for this price, the automotive enthusiasts were happy to own one of the Lamborghini cars. With that, Lamborghini quickly reached annual sales comparable to Ferrari's, likely leaving Enzo Ferrari furious about some provincial tractor maker mastering the sports cars craft so quickly and beating Enzo in his own game. But Lamborghini did not stop there and continued to work on issuing new models. Already in 1968, Lamborghini issued models Aslero and Espada. The Lamborghini Espada was a 4-seat grand touring car the whole family could take on a road trip. It had the perennial Lamborghini V12 under the hood in the front, otherwise, the car was a fairly practical daily driver. Both cars debuted at the 1968 Geneva Auto Show. In 1970, the Lamborghini Jarama saw its debut. This was another 2+2 touring car, as Ferruccio wanted to develop the company in that direction. This vehicle is generally considered the ugliest Lamborghini ever despite it being designed by Marcello Gandini, but it is known as the personal favorite of Ferruccio Lamborghini. There were a total of 328 units produced. In 1973, Lamborghini launched the Arauco model. Rather than being another range-topping sports car, like the Lamborghini Miura, the Arauco was another 2+2 coupe intended to be more affordable and an alternative to the contemporary Ferrari Dino and Maserati Merak. There were 791 Arauco cars produced. Its price in 1973 was $22,200. That's more than $152,000 today. After multiple experiments with 4-seat cars, in 1974, Lamborghini finally returned to its sporty Miura roots with the Lamborghini Countach model. The model reached a maximum speed of 186 miles per hour, being the first sports car on the Guinness World Records. The Countach was styled by Marcello Gandini of the Bertone Design Studio. As you can see from the pictures, this was a bold move, both from the past Lamborghini shapes and the sports cars in general, which made this model so successful. That's why, unlike the previous models that were produced for sometimes 6 to 10 years, Countach was produced all the way to 1990, having sold almost 2,000 units. And we must consider that if you wanted a Countach in 1974, you had to part with $72,200, which equals almost $450,000 today. In 1978, a new, more advanced LP400S model was introduced. Though the engine was slightly downgraded from the LP400 model, the most radical changes were on its exterior. Despite the rapid company's growth, unexpectedly for everyone, after building a name not only in the automotive industry but also in tractor engineering, Ferruccio decided to step down from managing the company. The reason was the termination of the contract for the delivery of agricultural machinery to South America. In Bolivia, the new military government canceled a large order of tractors that was being prepared for shipment in Genoa. This plunged Trattori's company into a state of crisis. In 1972, Lamborghini sold his entire holding in the company to a rival tractor builder company Società Accomandita Motori Endotermasi. Soon, the entire Lamborghini group found itself in financial trouble. Development at the automaker slowed as costs were cut. Ferruccio sold 51% of the company for $600,000 to Georges-Henri Rossetti, a wealthy Swiss businessman and friend. With that, Ferruccio relinquished control of the company he had founded. The situation did not improve. The 1973 oil crisis plagued sales of high-performance cars of all manufacturers worldwide. Consumers flocked to smaller, more practical modes of transportation with better fuel economy. By 1974, Ferruccio had become disenchanted with his car business. He severed all connections with the cars that bore his name, selling his remaining 49% stake in the automaker. The shares were acquired by René Leimer, a friend of Georges-Henri Rossetti. With the money received, Ferruccio retired to a 740-acre estate named La Fiorita on the shores of Lake Trasimeno in Castiglione del Lago, a town in central Italy. There, he started growing grapes and making wine, just leading a quiet life. However, even after retiring, Lamborghini continued his business activities in other areas, including his heating and air conditioning company, Lamborghini Calor. Since the departure of the founder, the Lamborghini company continued to launch new models that have become iconic in the automotive world. In 1976, the company launched Silhouette. The car was produced until 1979. There were only 54 of them produced, and the car was priced at $27,000 at that time. In 1981, the company released the Lamborghini Jalpa. It was the entry-level Lamborghini, much like the Gallardo or the Huracan in the modern era. It was priced at $52,580 at that time, which amounts to $180,000 today. Its production ran until 1988, and there were 410 units produced. In 1986, Lamborghini launched its LM002, the four-door SUV, nicknamed Rambo Lambo, which sold 328 units between 1986 and 1993. And in 1990, the company released its Diablo model, a high-performance mid-engine sports car that Lamborghini produced between 1990 and 2001. It was the first production Lamborghini capable of attaining a top speed above 200 miles per hour. There were 2,884 Diablo cars produced, showing the great success of the model. Indeed, the car was a devil in terms of performance and looks, but also in terms of its price. At launch, the base Diablo was priced from $239,000 in the US, which made it the most expensive mass-produced Lamborghini. This amounts to $540,000 in today's dollars. Despite the success of the Diablo model, you probably have noticed the delays between the launches of new Lamborghini models. From the moment the company was founded in 1963 until 1974, the company released 8 models in just 10 years. Since the departure of Ferruccio, the company has released only 4 models over 16 years. It is clear the company was struggling both financially and in terms of leadership. The company even went bankrupt in 1978 and was placed into receivership, which is a court-appointed tool that can help creditors recover funds from a company that is facing bankruptcy. The company was later bought by Patrick Mimran in 1987. Mimran and his brother, Jean-Claude, purchased the company's failing assets out of receivership for a mere $3 million. They began investing heavily in the company's expansion, developing a comprehensive restructuring program. It was during their time that Lamborghini launched the Jalpa and LM002. However, in 1987, the Mimrans sold Lamborghini to the Chrysler Corporation. But again, after launching the Diablo model, Chrysler sold Lamborghini in 1994 to Malaysian investment group Micom Sedco and Indonesian group V Power Corporation. And finally, only in 1998, Lamborghini found its current home when previous owners sold it for an estimated $111 million to the Volkswagen Group, where it was placed under the control of the group's Audi division. It was Audi's control and management that finally restored the past greatness of the Lamborghini brand. The German automotive concern was able to fully organize the entire production of Lamborghini in a productive and profitable way. VW and Audi turned around what seemed to be a dying brand and made it a successful and profitable business. And the work they put into rebuilding Lamborghini paid off well because, in 2021, the Volkswagen Group received a €7.5 billion offer for Automobili Lamborghini from Quantum Group AG, a Swiss-based holding company dedicated to creating a new multi-brand platform. While VW did not sell the brand then, this offer shows how much the brand has grown in valuation since VW bought it for an estimated $111 million in 1998. Under the influence of the new management, the design of cars has changed significantly, making them more versatile and modern. The release of the new models has dramatically accelerated under the new management, with the brand launching 15 new models in the past 25 years. This number includes quite a few one-of-the-kind and limited edition vehicles. For example, in the past 25 years, Lamborghini released such models as Reventon, Sesto Elemento, Veneno, Centenario, Sion, and Essenza. Each of these models was produced in limited numbers, ranging from 10 to 80 units. In terms of the more mass-produced vehicles, if you can even say such a thing about Lamborghini, the carmaker made a lot of progress as well. In 2001, the Murcielago model replaced the Lamborghini Diablo. The Murcielago can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3.4 seconds and develop a maximum speed of 206 miles per hour thanks to its powerful V12 engine. Production of the Murcielago ended on November 5, 2010, with a total production run of 4,099 cars. When the Lamborghini Murcielago model year 2002 was launched, it had a base price of $273,000. In 2003, the company released Gallardo, which was a successor of the Lamborghini Jalpa that stopped production all the way back in 1988. Gallardo was Lamborghini's second car released under its parent company Audi, and was the best-selling model at the time, with 14,022 units built throughout its production run. Named after a famous breed of fighting bull, the V10-powered Gallardo has been Lamborghini's sales leader and stablemate to the brand's V12 flagship models. The starting price for Gallardo was $165,000 in 2004. In 2011, after a 10-year production run, Murcielago was replaced by Aventador. The model received a V12 6.5-liter, 690-horsepower engine that allowed the car to accelerate to 100 km per hour in just 2.9 seconds. Its production ran until September 2022, with a total of 11,465 units produced. The retail price of Aventador at the moment of its launch was $420,000. The brand currently has 3 actively produced models. In 2014, the Huracan model succeeded the previous V10 offering, the Gallardo. As of April 2022, there were 20,000 units produced. For 2023, Huracan's pricing starts at $212,000. On April 23, 2012, the Lamborghini Urus concept was unveiled at the 2012 Beijing Auto Show. However, it took until 2018 for the vehicle to launch in production. The Urus is the first Lamborghini SUV and 5-door vehicle in the modern era, under the ownership of Volkswagen Group, and the second SUV in the brand's history after the LM002, which was produced between 1986 and 1993. Built on the Volkswagen Group MLB Evo platform, the Urus shares many components with other Volkswagen Group luxury SUVs such as the Audi Q7, Bentley Bentayga, Porsche Cayenne, and Volkswagen Touareg. With a top speed of 305 km per hour, the Urus is considered one of the fastest production SUVs in the world. In June 2022, Lamborghini announced the production of its 20,000th Urus. The price for Urus starts from $235,000. The most recent Lamborghini vehicle is the Revuelto, which succeeded the Aventador and went into full production in July 2023. The car is the first of the brand's vehicles to adopt a plug-in hybrid propulsion system. The price of Revuelto starts at $700,000. The golden color of the logo has been demonstrating the brand's superiority and rich traditions since 1963. However, few people know why Ferruccio chose a bull for the logo of his brand. The thing is that this animal was chosen for a reason. Ferruccio Lamborghini was a Taurus by the sign of the zodiac. He believed that thanks to the influence of Taurus on the formation of his character, he was able to achieve such success. He always went ahead even where, as it initially seemed, all the doors were closed. It is noteworthy how this character of Ferruccio played in his determination to beat Enzo Ferrari. After the humiliation suffered from Enzo, Ferruccio did something that nobody expected from a tractor manufacturer. In just 9 years of running the company, Ferruccio Lamborghini has changed the automotive world and completely turned it around by quickly matching and then beating the quality and production levels of Ferrari. He wanted to be better than Enzo in everything and even wanted to live longer than Enzo did. So, when Enzo died in 1988, at the age of 90, Ferruccio firmly decided to live to be 91, overtaking him in this too. But unfortunately, this was not destined to happen. Ferruccio Lamborghini died on February 20, 1993, at the age of 76, leaving an indelible mark on automotive history. And it's even hard to believe that if it weren't for the rude words of Enzo, if it weren't for problems with the clutch on Ferruccio's car, then most likely the world would never have seen these cars. The cars that now stand as the standard of luxury, success, and beauty. And we must thank Ferruccio for giving the world these beautiful and mega cool cars, the amazing world of Lamborghini sports cars. And other thanks must be given to Ferruccio for showing again how a person with the right determination and vision can achieve so much in the span of their life. We must thank him for another inspiring example of how an ordinary farmer's son, and later a tractor manufacturer, turned around his career in life and built one of the most recognizable and aspirational brands in the world. And for this video, that's all for today. Hope you liked this inspiring story. Please rate our video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for future inspiring videos about great personalities and the brands they built.